Good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Toms with IEPPV. This will be our first image competition for 2025, and we're excited to have all of our members here and our outstanding judging panel. Tonight, we have 38 photographs. We'll have two categories, a master category and the general category. If I could get the judges to do a quick introduction of themselves, and we'll start with you, Michelle. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Pennings. I'm in San Diego, California. I am a master. Okay. I am a juror in training for MIR. I have one panel left to do, and then I will have that. I'm like 2 points away from my craftsman, so that's the next thing that I'm working on. I love international competition. I love critiquing and giving back to PPA because my local San Diego group has made me what I am today. So I appreciate it. I'm excited to do this.
Thank you, Michelle. And Jim.
Good evening. My name is Jim Doyle, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. No, past president of PPOC, a couple of times PPC, and I run a small architectural photography company out of the city of Orange in California. Dwayne Murphy and I are hatching plans to figure out our next move. I'm just glad to be here. You guys, somebody asked me today, why do you do this? And because it keeps the creative juices flowing. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. And Michael Rhino, please.
Michael Rhino, first of all, thank you for having me tonight. I picked up a camera back in 2016 and started off with landscape, nature, wildlife photography. I'm past president now. I was president of Professional Photographers of Colorado, also PPC for the past 3 years. And so now I can actually say that I'm retired from that position, but still actively involved with the board. Over the last 3 years, before I did landscape, nature, and wildlife, and over the last 3 years, I've taken a stronger interest in photographing whatever comes in front of my lens. A lot of times now it's people, headshots, portraits, family portraits, and even a few weddings. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And I just want to say thank you to the three judges for helping us out. And we really appreciate you guys. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kim Shapiro, and she'll begin the image competition.
So we're going to start tonight with our master division. Our master division are people who have their masters or craftsmen or are competing at a higher level because they have more experience and they want stiffer competition. And our first category in the master division is the illustrative category. The illustrative category is anything that doesn't fit in any other category. It doesn't have the strict rules that you have for like photojournalism, where you are very limited as to what you can do editing wise. It allows you to put images that don't fit into another category. So our first image in the master division illustrative category is sacrifice. Sacrifice. Score is 80. Michelle, if you could comment for us.
Sure. I gave this an 81 in the deserving of a merit category. Really love the color tones that are going on here and that soft light on this subject's face. It's really drawing me into their face. A couple of things that I think might help it to go a little bit higher. I feel it's a little tight on the crop on the left with that umbrella close to the side. Maybe try a different crop. Also, I'm going down to the bottom of the gown the subject's wearing, maybe a little tighter to bring it up. So I'm really focusing more on that face and the story. But I really like the lighting and the story that it's captured. Very good.
Thank you. Continuing the master division illustrative category. I think I can. Score is 89. Jim, if you could comment.
Yeah. Challenge.
Okay, Michelle, go ahead. Michelle, you're going to challenge. I'll let you comment first, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I gave this a 90, and so I want to challenge this because we're just so close to that superior category, and I just hope that my fellow judges will want to bring this up. This is just incredible. In fact, as I look at it, I feel like I could even go higher. The creativity is off the charts. The composition is amazing. All those birds and the different positions of the reflections. I think this is incredible. So I want to hear what my other judges have to say, and I want to get this higher.
Can I speak next?
Sure. Go ahead, Michael.
I am going to come up much higher. So I came in at 84, and I maybe just hit the score a little bit too quick. And even after I hit that, I was thinking to myself, I should have gone way higher for the reasons that Michelle just brought up. As far as giving a few comments on it, I was out photographing sandhill cranes here in Colorado very recently. I did not come up with anything like this. To this point, there's separation both in the birds, there's separation in the shadows, the creativity, the flight characteristics, the shadows in there. I'll say that I'm going to come up significantly higher than where I'm at.
Jim, do you have any comments?
Michelle, I scored at a 92 and I'm definitely low. The only thing that's holding me back from 100 is the key line, I think, is too small. The border outside the key line. I'm studying this thing and I don't see any issues with it to make it not a 99, if not 100. This is stunning.
Can I do my rebuttal?
I would like to hear why we shouldn't go to 100.
The more I look at it, the more I'm in love with it. I really can't see anything wrong with it. The only thing that I see is on the third bird in from the left, 1, 2, 3, at its nose. There's like a little, I'm sitting here wiping my screen. Is it my screen? I can't move it around to see if there's a thing right there. But you know, that could be my screen. I just
That's
love
there.
this so much. That is it there on yours? And yes, I'm not loving the presentation, but I'm going to give it a 99. I just can't hold it back from that one little thing that could be a blip on my screen. This is just incredible. So I'm giving it a 99.
Okay, judges, if you could rescore. And the new score is 99.
Thank you for the challenge on that one, because as soon as I hit my number, it's like, I'm so low. I was too quick on hitting the press button.
Yeah, Michael, that's why we're working as a team. So good challenge, everyone.
Great comments there.
I'm sure the maker appreciates it. Continuing in the master division, in the illustrative category, we have morning studies. Morning studies.
I have a real quick question. So I'm on my keypad and a wrong number was already entered in there. And how do I clear that?
I will clear all the scores. So
Okay, I'm gonna send because I just can't change it, but I'm gonna
Click on the number. Click on the number up in the box. It'll clear it for you.
Okay. Can I now rescore?
if you guys could both rescore. Michelle, I have
Sorry
your
about
score already, but if you can re-enter your scores, I went ahead and cleared them.
Okay, I'm re-entering it right now. There we go. Sorry about that.
Score is 93. Jim.
I'd like to challenge this up. I scored at 100 and I'd like to know why we aren't there. I look at a couple of little artifacts in the top right quadrant and the middle top quadrant that look like dust or spots, but they're chips in the plaster. This is stunning. The way that the light bounces off the book into the subject's face, this is amazing. In my opinion, it's definitely worth 100. And I'd like to hear why we can't bring it up at least into the superior category.
Michelle, your comments?
Okay, I gave it an 85 and went back and forth. And the reason why I stayed at 85 in the excellent category, I really felt the subject's face and the book were not as sharp. I know it's farther away, but if that's our subject, it was a little bit soft. And then the other problem I had was in the light coming out of the little squares, the light looked like a little mushy thing in there that I wasn't quite sure about. I felt like the composition on this, I really struggled because I know they really want to put that whole door with all those openings on the left, but there's so much space at the top. The story is the subject looking at the book, and I just want to go all the way up the arch thing coming straight out of the subject's head, straight up into the air. It just keeps drawing me back up and out, not back in. So I had problems with the position of the model with the thing coming out of the head. I would love to hear what everyone else has to say. Bring me back. Tell me why we should go back up. I'm definitely here to listen.
Michael, your comments?
Yeah, so I'll add my comment. Fantastic comments, both judges, and what an incredible image. I was at 94. I think there's so much to like about this. The only thing that kept me going higher, Jim, was I was looking at trying to figure out the direction of light and where that light is hitting. I'll say the lower right stand and the structure over there. Trying to figure out how that part of it is lit that way with the direction of light coming in. To me, I would maybe burn down a little bit of the higher points over on that part of that rock structure that is to the child's right. But aside from that, I'm with Jim on I could definitely go up from my 94 score. And I can also understand Michelle's comments too, as far as like, hey, let's just really bring it into the subject. And she brought up something about sharpness, and I didn't see that. The lack of sharpness or whatever on the subject still isn't pulling me away. So those are my comments.
Jim, any final rebuttal?
Yeah, I'm looking at this image and it's an incredible use of space. We've got the door on the side, whether that's natural light or added light, I don't know. But if you look at the shadows on the rock formation in the foreground on the right, all the shadows are going in the right direction. There's detail in all of the shadows throughout pretty much the entire image. The top has been burned down, of course, because you want to draw. I see that line coming in, driving it right down onto the subject. And there's tension between his face and neck, which are the brightest parts in the image against the ray of light coming across from the third row. So there's tension back and forth between the gate and the subject. But the expression on his face when I first came up, I wasn't sure what kind of book that was, but it's actually a prayer book for this young man. I don't know if the maker staged this or what, but if he didn't stage this or she didn't stage this, this is a stunning capture. Even if he or she did stage it, it's a stunning capture. You look at where the subject's gown doesn't bisect. It comes right to the edge of the stone, but doesn't bisect it. You look how his head is tied right into it. There's just so many elements that tie into my world of what I do in architecture. The placement of the umbrella, I don't know. I'm pretty moved by this image. I'm as moved by this one as much or more than the last one that we saw. I judge it 100. I'd like you guys to come up at least above 95. Join me up there, please.
My very final comment is the storytelling and so forth. I was low with my score in that, so I'm going to come up.
Okay, judges, if you could rescore. And the new score is 96.
One more comment I'd like to make real quick. I really like the way this is presented. We use key lines to keep things in. This maker has chosen to use soft edges to keep things in. I'm seeing that more and more in a lot of photographs. This type of photograph, the art world, they're using this softer edges. And I think it plays well, especially in this kind of environment.
Continuing in the Master Division, illustrative category, we have balance. Score is 89. Michael.
Wow, tonight has been amazing already. I scored it at 86, so I'm a little below that number. The storytelling, I love this as far as composition. The subject is pretty close to the center. I do like this presentation. I have not tried doing something like this myself. When I looked at it and I see the border with the fade out and brightening of some sections, I want to learn how to do that. I'm not sure it works with a lot of my images, but if it does, I would love to know how to do that. I like the reflection that comes down, a little bit of the waves that are in there. Love the position of the child that's up there on the front of the bow. I think you even have a leading line in here that comes from the pole, the stake that the subject is using probably to maneuver through the boat on there, like the horizon. If there's a couple of things that I would make a few adjustments to bring the score up a little bit higher, maybe tighten the composition a little bit on the left and bring the subject to sort of that, not that I always rely on rule of thirds, but maybe get it a little bit closer to that. Maybe a few of the larger pieces of whatever it is that's floating on the water. Maybe I wouldn't eliminate, it would take forever to eliminate all of those, and you wouldn't want to. I think it still gives it some texture, but maybe just take out a few of the larger ones. But aside from that, another beautiful image tonight.
I'm not sure about whether I like the fact that the head and the reflection is cut off.
Good point. I was looking at that too. My thought on that one is if you extend that lower part too far, do you have too much dead space or unimportant space? Great point, Jim.
Continuing in our master division illustrative category, we have curvy. Curvy. Score is 89. Michelle.
Yeah, I gave it an 89 right there. This is so creative. Boy, your group at this master division is wowzers. This is just so interesting. I really like the three, what are they, balls or something? But where I think this could go so much higher, there's just a few things that I'm seeing here. On the top of the second ball and the first ball, it's kind of mushy and we're losing some of that texture. On the smaller ball, some of the blue is kind of hazing on the top. So it's not consistent with the top ball and how much texture is in that top ball. I want to be picky with this because you're at the master level, and I think this one could go so much higher. So incredible. I like the reflections of the balls in the water. The other thing that I find interesting, and I was not sure if it's a pro or if it's a con, the flat lighting on the model. You have so much interest in this image, and then we go to this model and the lighting is just really flat and dark and almost underexposed. That could be an artistic choice. I'm really drawn to the white of the ball, and then it's like, oh, there's a model up there. Just something to think about, a little more dodging and burning to create a little more depth and interest on that model could help. I do notice on the curve of the water on the line where it meets the skyline, there is a little bit of a white halo behind the first ball to the second ball. It gets a little bit mushy right there. So those are just a few little nitpicky things that I see, and the reason why I left it at 85, but I think maybe just a little more finesse and this could just go crazy. So good job.
Okay, continuing in the master division, we're moving on to the landscape category. First image in the landscape category is the Wanaka tree. The Wanaka tree. Score is 85. Jim.
I scored this an 84. Love the image. Geez, this is pretty amazing. All the detail in the shadow areas is great. I'm guessing this is infrared. The things that held me back from going significantly higher is personally, I think there's too much foreground. If we're talking about the tree is a very small section of the image, and the foreground, the bottom third of the image is extremely out of focus. And that's a especially direct line down from the tree. It just those white spots just draw my eye right to it. If there's a way to sharpen it or darken that down a little bit so it's not quite so bright, that I think would be significant. And I'm looking at why not maybe either crop it out down to the bottom of the tree in the reflection, or focus more in on the tree. The hills in the background, I think on the center left and left, a little more detail in them would bring it out a little more. And I think that would push it up higher, but it's extremely well done. The tree is tack sharp and the mountains are sharp. The sky is soft and the foreground is soft. My eyes being drawn in, but I think those little things could push it even higher. I scored it an 84.
Thank you. Continuing in the master division landscape category, we have light the way. Light the way. Michael.
Yes, I came in with 84 and I love this image. I would love to be there like tomorrow morning, evening, or whatever time of day this is. But I think it's one, I'll start with a presentation. Usually I don't do that, but I think it's a good presentation. I like the border. I like the way that was created. I think compositionally it works real well with the way that the bay comes in. You have the rocks on the left. You made sure that you kept that framing with the rocks that are on the left. Obviously the lighthouse, the buildings and so forth, I think are to me very well done. Depth of field looks nice, and sharpness all the way front to back, at least as far back as the buildings. If I were to make a couple of suggestions, maybe pull the composition as far as cropping, I think vertically it's great. Horizontally, maybe pull that right side in. The right third isn't doing that much for me. There's that bright spot on the lower right. If you pull it right into the edge of that, you still capture the framing of the cove, the rocks, everything going on there, maintain everything with the buildings, but you would be taking out the part of it's not doing anything for my eye, the right third of it. So again, I came in with, what did I say, 84, I think it was, 84.
Can I make a comment, Kim? There's two things that I would suggest. Number one, tone down the highlights because the highlights in the water in the foreground are blown out. The highlights in the lighthouse are blown out. Fix the perspective on this because if you look in the far right, the jetty or whatever that is out there is tilted. The lighthouse is tilted. The house is tilted. It looks like the photographer shot up at it. Just straighten those and stretch it up a little bit. That lighthouse should be prospectively, the houses should be a little taller. It's a beautiful image, but just tone down the highlights. I think you've got a very nice image there.
Good points.
Thank you. Continuing in the Master Division landscape category, we have lights out. Lights out. Score is 83. Michelle, can you please comment for us?
Yeah, I gave this an 81 in the deserving of a merit category. And it's really interesting and artistic and very cool. A couple things that I find, the whites look a little bit bright. I feel like we're losing a little bit of detail in the white. There's a lot of sky in this. So I know there was another image we looked at, had a lot of foreground. I think a little less on the top and just bringing that down would bring me more into that lighthouse. And this is really creative though. And I really want to reward the maker with that merit for the creativity because this is just so different. You don't see this kind of perspective of a lighthouse from the backside. It's kind of cool. Those are just a few things, maybe tone down the whites and bring down the top and see what it looks like, but very good.
Thank you. Continuing still in the landscape category, we have Seattle skyline. Score is 83. Jim, can you please comment?
I scored it an 80. Nice shot, nice capture. I like the tonality. I like the way the maker framed it. I think I would have loosened up a little bit, picked up a little more of that building on the left, a little more on the bottom, and that mountain on the right. I really want to see a little more of that. The buildings are all straight. They look great. If maker had waited another 10, 15 minutes, there might have been some light up in the Space Needle. That would have helped. If my eye gets drawn there and all I see is the black up there in the restaurant area, I'd like to see a little more as a beacon of Seattle. I know it's the skyline, but the fact that we cropped off all the buildings at the bottom causes me to take stock and look back a little bit. I would say loosen up the crop a little bit, and I think you've got a really good image. I scored it an 80.
And our last image in the landscape category is A Road to Remember. A Road to Remember. Score is 83. Michael.
Yeah, a beautiful image as far as location. I love a lot of what I'm seeing right here. The fact that you caught the moon, and sometimes the moon is really difficult to get exposed correctly when you have time of day and you've got what looks like a full moon up there right in the corner. I like where it's located. And just generally speaking, time of day, I think you nailed it here with catching that part of it. Couple things that I would maybe do to improve it. The lower quarter of it is nice, and I like the contrast in the shrubs, but I would maybe crop that a little bit up to where the image starts right there with the road. Since the road is part of the title, I would maybe just have that be the lead in. Part of me at first wanted to say, do I crop it all the way? Do I throw that in the corner and take out that left third of it? But I like the structures that are over on the left too much to eliminate those. So keep those there. But I think there's a couple signs and so forth in that are going along that road over on the left side and the lower they're part of it. A little bit distracting, maybe take those out. I don't know, just kind of a thought, but those were some of the things that kept me from going a little bit higher. But the rest of the scene I love, and I want to go try and find this place someday.
Continuing in our master division, our next category is the nature category. The first image in our nature category is Stop Me If I Told You This. Stop Me If I Told You This. Score is 91. Michelle.
Yeah, I gave it a 90. Wow, this is definitely in the superior category. Great capture. Wow, I love it. They're tack sharp. Wow, how he caught them in flight like that. That's amazing. I don't even know what to tell you on this as far as to go higher. The light coming in, hitting them is right. I can see texture. I can see all the different feathers. I like the composition. I'm not a huge fan of the key line, like the offset key line in the presentation, but honestly, I would never have a presentation unless it was horrible. I think presentations are kind of dumb anyway. Don't tell anybody I said that, even though it's recorded. But yeah, I'm sorry, maker, that I can't tell you what to do to make this better because I think it is pretty darn good. I don't know if any of my other jurors want to chime in on this one. I just love it. So I gave it a 90.
I know we want to save time in that. So I probably came in a little bit low on it. I could go higher if there were to be a challenge and so forth. The more I looked at it, I love the composition. I love the wing positions, the way that one intersects. It lines up perfectly with the one before it. And having photographed these birds and wishing I had this image in my portfolio, I would go higher if anybody wanted to challenge it. It's great.
Continuing in the nature category, we have Golden Gaze. Golden Gaze. Score is 81. Jim.
Thank you. I scored it an 80. I think it's very well done. Good capture. I like the tonality on the cat's face. I would focus on vignette this down. The foreground is as bright as his face, and there's a competition between whether I look at the out of focus foreground or the cat's face. The grass is green and sharp, and his face on the same plane, but his ears aren't necessarily sharp. The hump in his back is sharp. I'm having a little difficulty with that. I would vignette this, crop it in and vignette this down and focus more on just the front half of the cat. And I think this could go much, much higher. If you take some off the right side, that would also position the cat's face. Cat's face is off center. He's walking out of the frame, if you understand what I mean. I would reposition him over a little bit, if possible, to where he's walking into the frame rather than out of it. But I scored it an 80. I think it's a great capture.
Continuing still in the nature category in the master division, we have I See Some Dessert. Score is an 80. Michael.
Yeah, so I was a little bit higher than that at 83. The title is clever. What we don't see is what dessert is down there to the bald eagle's right lower part of it. I like a lot of what I see here. A couple things that maybe kept me from going a little bit higher is I don't know how far down below that bird is where actual dessert is to be able to maybe see that part of the title, that part of the subject. I like the action. I like the fact that the eye is nicely in focus. I'm losing a little bit of sharpness down on the tail. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but I'm not quite seeing the focus on that part of it. Otherwise, compositionally, I think it's good. One suggestion is maybe just because no, I wouldn't say that. No, for all those reasons, I went with 83, and I think it's a beautiful image.
Continuing in the nature category, we have Prairie Life. Prairie Life. Score is 80. Jim.
I scored this an 84. I really like it. I think that this quite a story. And to catch that maker really caught all those animals in that position at that point in time. That's amazing. I take my hat off to you. It's well done. The things that I see that could help the maker take this even higher, starting in the bottom left, there appears to be some kind of wood or something in the foreground. I think that's a bit of a distraction to me. I go from the bright to the dark, and I want to go from the buffalo down or the bison down to that mark down there through the prairie dogs. Top left-hand corner, there's a bright spot that could be toned down. Somehow, how do I describe this? I think you have to compress the image a little more, bring that middle section between the bison and those two prairie dogs hunched down in the back that are out of focus. Bring that down, minimize that, and make it tighter. Instead of being a 2:3 ratio, maybe a 16:9 would create more drama or dynamic in the scene. But I really do like it, and I scored it an 84.
Thank you. Continuing still in the Master Division nature category, we have A Dance of Light. A Dance of Light. Score is 87. Michelle.
Yeah, I'm right there with an 88, and this is beautiful. One of my favorite ways to capture with the dark and the light, and the light on the head is so soft going into that tack sharp eye. It's just stunning, and the impact is definitely there. Couple things that could take this a little higher. The maker did really well with darkening the background and getting all the hairs on the head. I think with a little more work, the feathers on the back end kind of get dark and fall off. And I'm losing detail from the water to under the feathers on the back. And I think if I could see a little more detail in there to see that it's actually attached to the bird, that could help just a little bit. I do like that on the left behind the bird, I can see a little bit of fall off to know that is water. And I see it a little bit to the right, but I think it just kind of looks like those back feathers are kind of floating there. And I want to see them grounded into the bird. But yeah, this is stunning, and I gave it an 88.
Thank you. Our final image in the Master Division nature category is called Fallen Beauty. Score is 82. Michael.
And I was right at that number. I love the texture, the veins of the leaf, the way those really pop up. I love that. I think that and the way that contrasts with the other colors in the leaf is beautiful. I think the composition is wonderful. The colors really work for me. If there's anything that's pulling me down a little bit, it might be the presentation. I'm not sure I would do that offset with the larger part of the black over on the right. I just want to keep my eyes focused on the image itself. I don't know that I need a really big border, especially that part to the right. Keep me focused on that leaf and the texture and the colors and the veins or whatever we call that part of the leaf. I love that part of it. So I was right there at 82.
Thank you. Our next category in the Master Division will be Photographic Artist. The first image in Photographic Artist is Lines, Shadows, and Soft, Fluffy Clouds. Lines, Shadows, and Soft, Fluffy Clouds. Score is 87. Jim.
You would pick on me. I scored it at 85. I think it's an excellent shot. Very creative. How do you make something like that look good? The maker found a way. Very well done. The tones, the time of day, the lighting, the shadows to create depth and dimension on a two-dimensional object. The way that you were able to keep the light on the metal on the right-hand side is really stunning. The things that could drive it higher in my eyes, very well done, by the way. I commend the maker. There is a bow to this image, and I'm not sure if it's your lens or the perspective, but if you look on the left, you'll see the line just on the inside of the beige colored wall. There's a little bow to the left. And if you look at the lines on the middle, it bows in also, a simple perspective control fix on that. Either that or just work that out. I'm not sure if it's barrel distortion in the lens or perspective from tilting down. The ones in the center don't matter because you're not going to see it. You're going to see it on the edges, and that's where I see it. The more I think about it, the more I think it has to do with the lens, because if you look at the air conditioning unit on the top, the slatted gray, I believe that's air conditioning, those lines are pretty straight. So that tells me there's a warp in the lens. And if you look at the second line and the third line, you've also got that bow. So a simple pull out with warp on that and one on the right side, I think would take it up. The other thing is I'd rethink the key line. While the white holds me in, I'm not sure that's the right key line to take this up into the superior category. It's close, but I think those little things could push it. Rethink the key line and fix those two. And I think you've got a very stunning, powerful piece of art there.
Thank you. And our final image in the master division is still in the photographic artist category, and it is The Road to Nowhere. Road to Nowhere. Score is 83. Michelle, if you can comment for us, please.
Yeah, I gave this an 82, and I find it really interesting. It is a road to nowhere, and I don't know where to look because I'm looking all over the place. You know what? I'm going to ask for some help on this one because I would love to give the maker some constructive criticism and critique, and I'm kind of at a loss on this one.
So I'll throw in, I was right at 83, right where we landed and so forth. I love the image as much as I want to look at it, but I completely agree with you, Michelle. I'm trying to look for a place for my eye to land, like the design, the shapes, the lines, but my eye keeps going all over the place. Maybe there's a way to just do dodging and burning, maybe luminosity masking as a suggestion. The lane that's going from right to left and curves and has the columns to it, maybe add some contrast in that section of it, maybe burn down a little bit some of the outer parts that aren't doing anything for me, and bring me right into that piece of it, maybe crop some of the other parts out of it. If you could somehow bring the right contrast and the right things that bring my eye to a special section of this thing, to me, I think it's probably that that part of that road that goes from the mid section on the right up to the upper middle of the left. Contrast is maybe, I like the black and white aspect of this one. There's something in the tonality that's not quite getting me to see a special section of it.
Thanks, Michael, for jumping in and helping me. The blacks on the tree on the top right, we're losing some detail in there, and there's some black shadow under the top left. So check your blacks that they're not blocked up and give us a little more detail.
Thank you. We are now finished with the master division and we're halfway through with our images. So we're going to take a short 5-minute break and then we will come back and finish the regular division. Okay, we are going to resume our competition now with the regular division. Starting in the regular division is for people who don't have their masters or craftsmen, people that are maybe entering for the first time or have less experience entering images competition. So it's kind of a little bit of a starting point before jumping up into the higher division of the masters. So our first category in the regular division is illustrative, and our first image is Strike a Pose. Score is 82. Jim.
I scored this in 84. Wow, this is pretty amazing that the maker was able to capture young lady. It all feels extremely well done. I like the fact that you can see just one eye. I'd like to see it pop out a little bit more, maybe a little brighter, but I think it was very well done. A couple of things that would have taken me up into the excellent category is looks like there's a couple of flyaway hairs, and it looks like her hair's been cut in. You need to smooth that out, clean that up a little bit on the top of her head. Other than that, I think it's very well done. I like the position of the feet, the position of the hands, of the subject matter, and just clean up the hair a little bit. And I think you've got a image that goes up well up into the merit category.
Thank you. Continuing in the regular division illustrative category, we have Ghost Driver. Score is 80. Michael.
Yeah, I figured that was my turn. I'm at 79, just under the merit category, but I agree with the 80 score to bring it into the merit category. A couple things here real quick. I like the perspective. I like the angle. When I come across scenes like this and that, I tend to try and capture the entire car and all of that. I think the maker did a great job of finding a composition that really worked with it. Over on the lower right, I would maybe crop it right to the edge where that black line kind of leads right up on there. I would maybe take out just a quarter of an inch off of that right side of it. I like the position of the steering wheel. The areas of it that could be improved, one is if you could get to this location at a different time of day, whether it be sunrise, sunset, whatever time of day would give you better light on this situation. And then I wasn't a huge fan of the white border on this. I think I would maybe do a multi-level border with a little bit of a key line on it or something like that, that maybe brings in a little bit of color from the scene. But the white itself is kind of pulling me away from where I want to really go with the image. So again, I was at 79, but totally agree with the merit score of 80.
Can I make a quick comment?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
One thing for the maker, it's very sharp and very, very well done. I agree with what Mike said. But if you look at the edge of the mirror, especially in the top right, and you look at the top part of the windows, it appears that it's been over sharpened. Now, I'm not saying that it has been sharpened or that it's been over sharpened, but there's a dynamic range between the light and the dark that's causing that halo effect, which appears to be an over sharpening. I would suggest that the maker tone those down. I think you've got a very creative piece of work there.
Yep.
I scored it at 82.
Okay, continuing in the regular division, our last image in the illustrative category is 3751 at the round table. Score is 82. Michelle?
Yeah, I gave this an 80, deserving of a merit. And this is cool. As I'm looking, I'm like, wow, there's a lot to look at here, but my eye still goes straight to that 3751. So I think the title is good. Where I think that maybe this one could get a little bit higher, you've got these two lights, one on the left and one on camera, that are really bright. So the one on the left, I would tone that one down a little bit. It's really taking my eye out of the scene, and it's like trying to be the star of the show. And that 3751 cart is the star. So we want to bring our eyes back over there. A little bit off the crop on the left so that it kind of did the same thing as the star burst on the right might help. Then we got some hot spots on this train car. So on the back right, maybe tone that down a little bit by the one. I like how you have those leading lines leading you into it from the left and then kind of going back out to the right. That's been done nicely, but I think just handling those whites and toning those down is going to help a lot.
Okay, continuing in the regular division, we're now going to the landscape category. Our first image in the landscape category is Standard Mine Mill Bodie. Score is 78. Jim?
I scored it a 78. Like the concept of what the maker's trying to do. I just think that there's too much contrast in the image. The whites are really bright and the blacks are blocked up, especially on the left-hand side under the house. It just doesn't feel real. It feels surreal. And if I'm looking at the stack on the right, center right, there's a haloing effect around it that's given me a little bit of heartache there. But I think if you tone it down and change the contrast level, it could do really well. I scored it a 78.
Continuing in the landscape category, we have Kilimanjaro Storm. Score is 79. Michael?
Yeah, so I came in with an 81. This is a location I would love to go to. I might have been a little bit high on it, but I love the composition. I love the image. I'll start with what I really like. I like the fact that the maker has separation over from that left tree, that you don't have the branches that cross over into the side. Kilimanjaro with the trees, with all of the things that are going on in the foreground, I think are beautiful. A couple of areas that I think might bring it up a little bit is one, there are a little bit of halo. I'm looking at the big tree over there on the left. There's a little bit of halos along the trunk of that tree coming down. There's some fixes you can do in Photoshop that would clean that up. Over on the right, there's the very far right tree on the lower right that I'm trying to figure out. There's some bright areas within that piece that look like they don't fit with what would naturally be there. So maybe there's something that goes on over there with, some of the halos or whatever within that section. But otherwise, love the scene. Really like to be here one day and see the same thing you saw.
Thank you. So in our landscape category, we have 2 images for review. Again, these have a 78 or 79, and you need to either vote to keep it at the current score or raise it up to a merit. To raise it to a merit, please vote an 80. To keep it where it's at, please vote a 78. Our first image for review is Standard Mill Mine in Bodie. It stays the same. And our next is Kilimanjaro Storm, original score of 79, and it stays the same as well. We're now moving to the regular division land or nature category. First image is Perfect Pair. Perfect Pair. Score is 81. Michelle, please comment.
I gave this one an 80, deserving of a merit, and I like this pair. Bird photography is so hard so that you've got those eyes tack sharp in the way they're posing for you. How much did you pay them to do that? I mean, that was really great. Things that I think might help this image. We've got a lot of foreground and a lot, I know we're giving them some space and somewhere to go on the right, but we got a lot of space to go on the right. So I think playing around with some different crops would help. It has impact when I first look at it, but they're shot, the time of day is good, but they're just lacking a little bit of pizzazz. If you got in there and dodged and burned some of those feathers to give them a little more depth and dimension, just a little more pop, really could make this stand out. So those are a couple of things to work on, but I give it an 80 and I think it's deserving of a merit. Good job.
Thank you. Continuing in the regular division nature category, we have Baby Bear. Score is 83. Jim.
Thank you. I scored this an 82. I think it's a great capture. I like how sharp the bear's eyes and his fur, the detail in the fur and everything is just amazing. A couple of things that to suggest to the maker is, do we really need all the green and the wood? If you crop half the tree and the wood and make it more about the bear and put a nice vignette on it that darkens down everything except that bear peeking around the corner, and bring out a little more of the detail in his eyes, a little more brightness in his eyes, I think you've got a stunning image there. I might also take out the 2 red specks on his nose or on his snout. Other than that, this is a great capture. Congratulations to the maker.
Everything that Jim said would be exactly what I would have said. The other part of it is the border. I don't know that I would go solid white with that, but play around with some borders on this one too.
Our final image in the nature category is Good Morning World. Good Morning World. We're at 83. Michael.
Yeah, there's a lot to like about this one. I like the composition. Sometimes you see these long vertical compositions and sometimes they don't work with certain images. This one, I think it's great. And I think having that longer stem down below is beautiful. Sorry about that. My score was 81. The couple of things I'm looking at it really closely and I'm trying to figure out if the focus is right where I want to be. I'm not sure if this was maybe with a macro lens. I think it's again, once again beautiful, but I want to make sure that I see the details in, I'm going to say like where we see the white curvature, the top part of the flower. What I really want to see is the details like right inside of the main section there. It might be a little bit soft, which having experimented myself with macro photography, it's really hard to get the right piece in focus. I think I could go a bit higher on this one if the focus of where I want my eye to look at was a little bit sharper. I was at 81, but beautiful image. I love the composition on this one, by the way.
Thank you. Continuing on, we're in the regular division going to the photographic artist category. First image in the photographic artist category is Making Waves. Making Waves. Score is an 80. Michelle.
Yeah, I'm right there with an 80, deserving of a merit. I like all the splashes, everything you got going on in here. Nice light on your subject. Nice cutout of her. I like how you got it. I think a couple things that make this one go higher. Okay. So around her hair to the left, her right, our left, the cutout right there gets a little bit mushy. Like I know it's trying to look like it's fading out of her hair right there, but that part could be cleaned up a little bit. And then there's a little bit of haloing on the left side of her hair coming from the top all the way down. The other things that I'm noticing is, so I know when we're doing this for, I bet she absolutely loved this. This is probably her senior banner for swim. It's awesome. Like hanging at the pool, this is awesome. But an image competition in the artist category, there's a few other things. Her pink bracelet is really distracting. It does not go at all with what she's got on. The blue one, okay, and the gold bracelets I can deal with, but the pink one's just taking me back out. Then there's a couple other, the splashes are cool, but there's a splash over on the camera right that's like really drawing my eye away from her and over to the splash mark. Her name on the bottom. I feel like the alley hanging over the fields. I know that's probably an artistic choice, but I don't know. I would have lined them up, I think, a little bit. But I gave it an 80. I think this is awesome. I like the key line and the presentation. So good job.
Continuing in photographic artist, we have Champion. Champion. Score is an 80. Jim.
I scored it a 78. As Michelle mentioned, I'm sure they love these photos for their high school swim team or water polo team. But a couple of things held me back from going up into the merit category. If you look at the positioning of the young lady, the ball is not round and the young lady is blocking the name of the team. So we don't know what the Santiago, what, Sharks, I'm guessing. We need to lower them down a little bit. I don't mind the position that she's off center. By lowering her down also, the bathing suit against her skin causes a drive into the name water polo. If you lower it down a little bit, there'll be less of a V there and it'll hide her bottom torso a little more. But if you were to pull it down and make the ball round, because the ball looks oblong to me on my screen, those are two things that concern me. The other is the hair in her face is encroaching on her eye. I know you don't have a lot of time, but to fix some of those things, those little things are really important. I like the key line. I like the presentation. I just lower her down and clean up a few of those little things. And I think you've got a real nice image. I scored a 78.
Continuing in the photographic artist category, we have Shine. Shine. Score is 80. Michael.
Yeah, this is another one that I really like, the vertical orientation, and that I like the expression. Part of what I look on these ones here too, when we're looking at the sports and the expressions, the activity and so forth. And I liked what that is. I think there's maybe a little bit of dodging and burning. There's some things that could be done with her face from a portraiture standpoint, but I like her position. I like that. Yeah, and again, this, as was spoken about the last couple that we saw, these are going to be amazing for what they are representing as far as their sports. I'm thinking high school teams. Again, this is one that deserves this large, long, the vertical scene in that. I really like it. The Sharks are going to love you because you've come up with some great creative images in that. And I think this is one of those. So again, I scored it at, I think it was 81 on that.
And our final image in photographic artist is Field of Dreams. Score is 78. Michelle.
Yeah, right there at a 78. And nice lighting on her. And I like the pose. Cute girl. And again, this team is loving this because I've been to some fields and seen some really bad banners, and these are awesome. Let's see. It's hard when you've got this ratio where it's the long skinny because you got to keep them all so tight with her lacrosse stick. Again, this is just for competition. Entering these in competition is a whole different ballgame than what you're doing for the client. For competition, move her down. Her hair is blocking Broncos, and I think it says Broncos, kind of like, I don't know if this is the same maker that did the Sharks, but if when competition, we want to be able to read it. Feel like Vista and Broncos are really close together and need some space there. And if she was turned just a little more to her left, and then that stick brought in a little bit, could have fixed her up there. And then if she had popped that knee just a little bit more. I like the shoemaker and that kind of crest. That logo at the bottom looks pretty good. I like that a lot. The colors are cool in the background, and she definitely pops. In competition, work on your knockout there around her hair. Needs to be a little bit cleaner. The left side, that little loop sticking out, our camera right, her left. It's cool for the banner, but in competition, clean that up. Good job.
Thank you. We have one image for review in Photographic Artist. Original score of 78. Field of Dreams, 78 if you'd like to leave it at its original score. Moving now into the photojournalism category, regular division, photojournalism, our first image is Air Power of Yesteryear and Today. Score is 79. Michael.
Yeah, I really loved the title, Yesterday and Today, and the two different views. And to capture these two images in that same, in one capture, and that I think is amazing. The reason I scored it 79 and then go a little bit higher is, to me, maybe the closer aircraft in the upper right should be the one in focus versus the one in the back. And then when I look at the border, I like it, but I don't know that this one needs that thin gray pull from one of the aircraft. I would have maybe gone a little bit wider. I don't want to ding images, as we heard from Michelle earlier, but in this case, it's not doing anything for me, and maybe takes a little bit away from the image. So again, I was at 79.
Continuing in the photojournalism category, we have Gonna Win by a Tongue. Gonna Win by a Tongue. Score is 88. Jim.
Ooh, I scored this low. I'm at 85, and I definitely come up if somebody's going to challenge it. I think this is excellent. This is stunning. It's great capture. Timing is perfect. Naming is great. The squarer type of crop is really great. The highlights aren't blown out. For photojournalism where you can't retouch it, I think this is very, very well done. And I'm probably low at 85.
Can I be the one to challenge on this one?
You can if you'd like.
I came in at 95. I'm not exactly sure that I didn't score it too low. Here's what I love about this one, the title. My eyes are drawn right to where it needs to be. The tongues, the dogs. This is an action shot. This is not easy to do. To me, also the depth of field, right? My eyes go right to those dogs in the front. And you even have a little bit of fallout to the person that's in there. And then you have big fallout to the trees, but you have just enough texture that's back in there. I gave it a 95, and I would even go a little bit higher than this. I think if you cropped a little bit of the left side of it out, I don't know that it needs to all be there. I think there's a composition with this one that goes, to me personally, above 95. Oh, and I'm going to add in there the dog on the right, and you have a little bit of the snow that's kicking off of the back of that one. This is beautiful. 95, and I could probably go a little bit higher than that myself, but I'll listen to the others.
Michelle, any comments?
Yeah, I was at 85, and I can definitely go higher. The more I look at it, the more I enjoy it. I was at an 85 for the composition. And photojournalism, who knows where you're standing or what you had to crop off on the side. I kind of wanted a little more room on the side, and I wanted to give them a little more room to run. But I see why they left the space on the left. But those were my reservations. So I could come up a little bit. Yeah.
Jim, any other comments?
I agree with Michelle, and I also agree with Michael. So I guess it's a toss-up. I think it's a very well composed image. It's a 4/3, almost a 4/3 crop. So yeah, how much is missing?
Michael, any final rebuttal since you're the one who did the official challenge?
No, thank you for the comments. I think those are all there. The title, look at all those tongues. That just ties into the title. But no more comments for me.
Okay, go ahead and rescore. Score is 92.
Thank you, Michael.
Continuing in the photojournalism category, we have Huntington Beach Surf Competition. Score is 81. Michelle.
Yeah, I gave this a 78 and it's got so much going for it. I mean, this is a really amazing capture because capturing surfers is so hard and you've got eyes and hands, and a lot of times when you try to capture surfers, their faces turned and you can't see them. And so this is like two eyes in a ball. This is good. So why I didn't go higher? I feel like technically this one has some issues. Like the focal point on this is the wave and the water at the dead center, and our surfer is soft. She is not tack sharp. In photojournalism, you caught such an awesome moment, but you grabbed that wave right there and not her. So that was one of the main reasons why I stayed at a 78. I like your composition. It's good. The key line, I wouldn't give you points down for this at this point, but if you try to take an image like this onto a higher level, that red keystroke is just really taking me out of the image. It's not helping you. I know you grabbed her wetsuit, her top there, but get rid of that red. That is going to be not good for you. Just a softer, fine key line and maybe a little wider matte would be good. I love the colors on this. It's great that she's got the sunshine right on her face. You nailed so many things about it. Just next time, try to get that focus right there on your subject. Pretty amazing.
Real quick comment on this one. I used to lifeguard right there. I was a Huntington Beach State lifeguard back in my college days many years ago. I scored it higher than this, but I can appreciate Michelle's scores. So if we need to come down on it, I can do that too. But beautiful image.
Continuing in photojournalism, we have Barely Taking Off. Barely Taking Off.
Can you tell me the category again, please?
Photojournalism.
Thank you.
Score is 89. Jim.
I scored this a 95. Wow, this is amazing.
Jim, let's challenge this.
And get it up at least 1 point.
Yeah, it's 89. So this is a really amazing photojournalism.
No, I don't want to challenge it.
You
Sorry.
don't?
No,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. I think the maker should be
I
commended.
do. I want to challenge it. So I'm challenging this one. Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, don't mean to override you, Jim, but I gave it a 90 and it's at an 89. And I feel like this is a pretty amazing capture. I think we can get it up just one more point, but I will wait and hear what Jim has to say after I say what I need to do. Okay, so time of day is great. The sky is amazing. I love the heat or whatever the dust is coming off from the bottom. It just giving it lift off. The softness of those mountains in the background and all of the color toning of this. Look at the underneath where it says Navy USA matches the yellow tones in the heat and the takeoff on the bottom. That is so cool that I can see his face in a cockpit. The only reason I didn't go any higher is because you've got a couple dust spots right under the wing on the camera, right, and above it on the top. So that's why I'm at a 90. And I like being here at a 90, and I want to hear what you guys have to say of why you wouldn't go higher.
I was at 83, I think, and way too low. The more I looked at it, the more I enjoyed it, but I threw my score in there a little bit too quick. Everything that you said. The other part of this isn't easy to do, right? I mean, getting something coming at you that fast and capturing it, and the focus is so perfect on this. So obviously, I'm going to come up on my score, maybe a couple of dust spots, but in this category, I'm not sure that you can move those off or not. If you can't, then move it into a different, not photojournalism, but it's the composition of it. What I really liked about it was when I look at composition, I'm looking at the leading lines that come in from the left with the rails, the position of the ones that coming in from the right. Again, you can't control this when you're in this scene, but what I liked about it was the little bit of light right below the plane. It's just bright enough to bring me into that part of the scene, and then I immediately go right up to the plane, and everything is so great in focus. I'll stop there, but I probably said too much.
Jim, any comments?
Photojournalism, and I scored it a 95. And after looking at it, I think I'll stay where I'm at, but I will tell the maker, you got to crop a little off the left and get rid of those dust spots. I didn't see those initially. I agree with everything that's been said. This is a dynamic capture. From front to back, that plane is tack sharp. That pilot's face is tack sharp. That's very difficult. But there's a spot up in the top left and spots on the left side on the wing. There's a lot of dust spots that need to be cleaned up before they take this into the next image competition. But other than that, I think it's extremely well done. I don't know what the yellow is, but that's exhaust. And boy, let me tell you, that's hot. Great shot.
Amazing.
Any more rebuttal?
Well, just real quick, I mean, if this was at the master level, I would probably not go up to those dust spots would take it back. But I don't want to discourage this maker. I really want to reward them with a 90 with that superior category, because minus those sensor spots, this is amazing. It'd be one thing if it was whether it was going to merit or not merit, but this is so fantastic. Let's just put it in that superior. So I'm going to stick with my 90, and I hope you join me.
The new score is 92.
Thank you for that challenge, Michelle. I was way low on mine.
Thank you to my fellow jurors. That was pretty cool.
And we have one more image in our photojournalism category, 18 inches apart at 700 mph. 18 inches apart at 700 mph.
And guess what? I was at 86. I love this photo. Just compositionally, sometimes getting compositions right is not easy to do, and getting the shutter speed fast enough to get it. And I think the maker did it here. What I really like about it is, like, I'm looking at small details here, but like when I look at the top middle plane and the bottom middle plane, and you have that little bit of separation that's between the lower part of the wing and the upper part of where the pilot is, amazing. I will admit, you have to get a little bit lucky when you get something like that. The separation of other parts of it are good. Where things overlap, they work for me. I think there might be a couple of sensor dust spots up in the sky, which is where they always show up, right? Up in the upper left part of it. And I do have a question here when it comes to photojournalism. Can you clean those up or not? Because if not, whenever I photograph photojournalism, I'm going to end up with sensor dust spots too. But I think the composition is great. I think I would maybe do a little bit things differently with the border, maybe expand it a little bit. But otherwise, I'll stop there and say I was right at our same score of 86, and I love this image. I think there's a lot to like about it.
Thank you. We are now moving to the regular division portrait category. First image in the portrait category is Cowgirl. Score is an 82. Jim.
I scored it an 84. Nice photograph of this young lady. I like the tonality of, I like the shadow. I really like the contrast between her face and the shadow. It keeps me engaged in the image. I wish her eyes were looking, instead of looking off at a 45 degree, maybe only 10 or 15 degrees off or directly at the camera. I know she's in thought, but because of the position of her eyes, her right eye loses the light. If she had moved her eyes just a little bit toward the camera, she'd have some light on the retinas of her eyes and they would sparkle a little more. I think you can tone down the highlights on the left side and maybe clean up some discoloration in the band of her hat. But other than that, it's very well done in this category, and I think the maker should be proud of it. I scored it at 84.
Thank you. Our final image in the portrait category is Ballet in Blue. Score is 80. Michelle.
I gave this a 78 in the above average category. And what a beautiful girl. Really pretty. I like the motion. I really like the pose. Where it's kind of falling short for me is in how bright that background is. That bright orangey yellow background behind her. I like that it's kind of blurred out, but it's just competing for her attention with her. My eye just wants to go back to that bright background. We've got all kinds of colors going on here. In the portrait category, this might have been her senior picture or dance picture, and I'm sure they loved it. I hope they bought a big, huge wall piece because it's gorgeous. But when you're entering in competition, there's things you think about, like color balance. You've got all these warm tones, and then she's got on this cool toned blue skirt, which it's so pretty how it's flowing. But if it had been a different color, when you're planning out your shoots for competition, you got to think just a little differently. And then work on your composition, that crop with the dress kind of touching that left side. It's just really tight for me. A little looser over there. I like that you gave her some room to move throughout the image to the right, so that's good. But just a few things to think about when we're shooting for portrait category. But really pretty girl and good job.
Thank you. Our next category in the regular division is our wedding category. We have one image in the wedding category tonight. It's Entwined in Time. Entwined in Time. Score is 80. Michael.
Sure. I was a little bit higher than that, 83 in that. What caused me to go a little bit maybe higher than the other judges, that I like that little bit of light that's hitting the upper left part of her hair. It's bringing me into that part of the scene. It's bringing me into that. You know, if you pose them correctly, have his fingers not be as wide and make some adjustments to increase that. I think the other things that could be done to improve my score anyways, and that would be to lose a little bit of the right side of the frame. There's a lot that falls into darkness that I don't think necessarily has to be there. So I would probably crop in maybe a quarter of the right side to go a little bit higher. But overall, I like the lighting. I like where they are. I think, obviously, with these kind of a scenes and so forth, that you could probably get a little bit more expression, a little bit more smile, a little bit more those kind of things in his face. But again, you're in the moment, so you can't always necessarily control that. I was a little bit high there, probably at my 83 score. Few suggestions in that I think could go a little bit higher than that, but I think it's a beautiful image. I commend the maker for the scene that they captured in this one.
Can I make a comment, please?
Yeah.
Sure.
Could you tell me the title again, please?
Entwined in Time.
Okay. Not sure if this is a portrait or wedding. It's in the wedding category, so I'm guessing it's a wedding. When you have total control of this type of an environment and it's her day, she's the one getting married to him. Yes, he's getting married to her, but at the end of the day, it's about the bride. And we need to see more of her face rather than his, a slightly different angle, seeing more of her face if they were turned a little bit. I like how the light's coming in on him, but if they were turned a little counterclockwise, that would minimize his hand also, the big, with his fingers open on her back, that would minimize that, and his hand would get a little smaller. As I say, it's all about her and her expression and face, and we can't see her eyes at all, but we see him. In weddings, it's critical that you focus on the bride, in my opinion. I scored it a 78.
Great points, Jim.
That concludes our image competition for tonight. We have some tiebreakers to break. The judges are going to have to break ties in 4 different categories. The ties were all in the regular division. There was no ties in the master division. Okay. We have liftoff.
Full screen. Perfect.
Okay, you should have a screen showing 2 images on it. This is the regular division illustrative category. And the 2 images that are tied are Strike a Pose and 3751 at the round table. Judges, you need to figure out which one you would prefer to win for best of class or illustrative in the regular division. You just have to talk amongst yourselves and then let me know which one you prefer.
Okay.
You can discuss it. However you want to pick your favorite for the illustrative best of class.
And Kim, we're using the Zoom screen now, not print competition, correct?
Correct. We are no longer on
Okay.
competition, have access there to pull up the ties and stuff like this.
So I can close that down?
Yes,
Okay.
you just have Zoom now.
Boy, I like them both for different reasons.
It's tough sometimes.
Yeah,
because
and they're
they'll
totally
be
different.
totally different images, but you have to pick which one is
Oh,
best.
man. Well, Jim and Mike, what are you thinking? Are you leaning towards one more than the other?
Same thing. I like them both. I'm going to disregard the fact that I'm not crazy about the train photos border and that, so I'm going to take that out of the equation. I really enjoy the one on the left. I think that's creative. I can appreciate getting the flash in that spot. Jim brought up some great points as far as some things that could improve it, and I think those are valid. I love that position. I love that action. I love the flow of her hair, the way that it's caught, the way that the eye is sort of framed within parts of the hair coming across. To me, I'm leaning a little bit towards the left, but I'm not stuck on that. I'll hear what others have to say.
I'm leaning towards that one too, just for impact. I mean, when it pops up, you're like, wow, it's got a little more impact from me than the one on the right.
Hmm.
I would agree with you. I think the technical issues related to 3751, the technical issues are more than the one on the left. The technical issues are handled better on the one on the left, especially the lighting and everything. There are too many highlights blowing out on the one on the right. I vote for the one on the left.
Yeah, me
Too.
Okay, so the one on the left are strike a pose.
Correct.
Yep.
This is in the nature category in the regular division, and we have Baby Bear and Good Morning World.
I vote the Good Morning World.
Oh, I'm struggling with this one. I love both of these. I think the Good Morning World, I just love that composition and the tonality. I will vote for the right one too.
that's my choice.
Okay, thank you for that one. And now you have a three-way tie for the photographic artists. We have Making Waves, Champion, and Shine.
Who wants to start it? I vote for the one on the right because the name isn't cut off.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to disappoint the maker, regardless of which one we pick, because it's probably the same person. My first choice would be I sort of like the lighting and the composition and so forth of the middle one myself, other than the fact that the name is cut off. I think that's my favorite image of the two, but I can go with you too. I like the long composition on the right, but my first pick would be the one in the middle. I don't think we're going to disappoint the maker with either of these.
They're all good. I have to agree with Michael. I think that I like the lighting on the subject and the middle one the best. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the middle one too, just for lighting on her. I like her pose. I like her expression. Yep, center for me.
I will add this too. My background was I played a lot of years of water polo at Long Beach State and other schools. So maybe part of me was slighted towards the water polo thing, but I still want to make it about the image versus what my background is.
Which one did you say, Mike?
I said the middle one.
Okay,
So,
2-1.
well, 2-1, sorry. And now you have a tie for photojournalism. You have Gonna Win by a Tongue or Barely Taking Off.
I'll let somebody else start with this one because these are both amazing.
My vote's going to the dogs.
From a photojournalism standpoint, both are amazing and you're there and so forth and that. I think from photojournalism standpoint, the the dogs to me is like it's true photojournalism to capture that scene as you did. The tongues, the title, everything about that one, both amazing images. I'm leaning slightly towards the dogs. Both are so great.
I agree, the dogs. for all the reasons stated.
All right, give me just a moment, and then you guys will be selecting for best of show for the master division and best of show for the regular division. This is the best of show winners for the master division. We have I Think I Can for Illustrative, the Wanataka Tree for landscape, Stop Me If I Told You This for nature, Lines, Shadows, and Soft Fluffy Cloud for photographic artist. You're going to pick one for best of show. So you can either pick the one that stands out as your favorite, or we can start eliminating so that you have less on the screen to look at.
I know what my favorite is.
I think I've got mine too.
My favorite is I Think I Can.
Say that again.
The white top left.
Agreed.
The separation on all of, yeah, I won't discuss any further, but yeah, I'm upper left.
Okay, so that one wins best of show. While we're here, we'll go ahead and congratulate the makers. The I Think I Can for illustrative is Bruce Benet. So congratulations to Bruce.
Congratulations.
Bruce.
Amazing. All of these are great, but that is amazing.
And I need to know if that third bird in there has something in its mouth. That's what I keep thinking. It has something in its mouth.
Maybe Bruce will let us know. He's here.
No, I want to know about this one. Okay.
After we finish with the regular division, then Bruce is here. He'll probably be able to answer that for you.
Awesome.
The winner for best of class in the Masters Division Landscape category is the Wanataka Tree. Congratulations to Craig Stampley. The best of class for the Nature Division in the Masters category is also by Bruce Benet. Congratulations again, Bruce. And in the Photographic Artist category, we have Lines, Shadows, and Soft Fluffy Clouds from Craig Stampley. So congratulations to our winner in our Master Division.
Congratulations.
There are now 6 images. These are the best of category winners for the regular division. The first one up in the top is Strike a Pose in Illustrative. Congratulations to Christine McElhaney. Next to that is, hold on, that's not what should be there. Just a moment. Give me just a moment. I gotta stop sharing my screen for a minute. Okay, there we go. We have our 6 category winners. So the first one was Illustrative, Strike a Pose by Christine McElhaney. The one next to it is going to be our nature category, and that is Good Morning World, also by Christine McElhaney. Congratulations, Christine. In the upper right, we have Champion by Megan Plock. Congratulations, Megan. In the lower left, we have our Photojournalism with Gonna Win by a Tongue by Kim Shapiro. In the portrait category is the bottom middle, and we have Cowgirl by Rosemary Capuano. I'm not sure if I'm saying Rosemary's name right, but congratulations to Rosemary. In the lower right, we have Entwined in Time in the wedding category by John Paul Wolf. Congratulations to all of our makers. So now, the judges, you have the task of figuring which of these is going to be your best of show in the regular division.
Hear anybody?
Oh, everybody's muted.
Ladies first.
I really feel like that photojournalistic dogs is just so strong, so good. That would be my vote.
I would agree with you, Michael.
The other one I really like is the Cowgirl. I love the shadow on that. The shadow on that thing makes that one.
Yeah.
Other images are amazing. I have a hard time steering my way past or away from water polo just because that was part of my background. But I'm going to go back to the photojournalism with the dogs, the tongues, the composition, the action. That is a hard shot to get, and you got to be right at the right place at the right time and get the right one. that's so difficult to get and was done so amazingly well. I'm with that lower left, the dogs, the tongues with the dogs, whatever the title was. I love that one.
That was all three.
Okay, so you guys all three agreed?
Yeah, that's my first choice. Sorry about that, but yes.
That was Chris, Michelle and Jim, you guys are good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so Best of Show is gonna win by a tongue, and that's Kim Shapiro. So congratulations.
Congratulations,
And
kid.
thank you to our judges, because it's a daunting task to score these and come up with winners. We appreciate you taking the time to give us constructive criticism so that we can better our craft. We really appreciate you imparting your knowledge upon us so that we can learn and get better at what we do.
Thank you, Kim and Brad. You guys are really good at what you do as far as this is concerned, but the people you have in your organization are amazing. The photography that you folks create, I'm always inspired when I come away from one of these. You guys do a great job. The whole organization is really first class.
Thank you.
I agree. Some really beautiful images. You guys do great work.
How many images, Lee, when you look at the percentage of tonight that we saw from general, masters, all of your categories and so forth, how many of them were legitimately and received scores of 80 and above into that the merit category? Just fantastic images, and you guys have done a great job.